I've reviewed a lot of video games and a lot of movies on this channel. I think this week we should give that a little break and do something different. I've been a comic book nerd my entire life, so I'm going to share with you today my top 10 comic book heroes. It was so extremely hard narrowing down this list to 10 characters because there's really so many characters that I'm passionate about. So this list is probably a little different than yours. And I purposely tried to make it a little different than all the other lists that are out there. But that's okay, because we're all different human beings with different opinions. Check it out. Number 10. Spider-Man 2099. First appearing in Amazing Spider-Man number 365 in 1992, Spider-Man 2099 is the Spider-Man of the future. Miguel O'Hara became the head of the genetics program, run by the Alchemax Corporation. After threatening to quit due to a human test subject dying, Miguel was injected with a dangerous drug, and he used one of his machines in an attempt to save himself. When the machine was sabotaged, his genetic code became 50% Spider. And being inspired by the original Spider-Man, he took up his mantle. I loved the future world of the Marvel Universe known as 2099, and Spider-Man 2099 was consistently the most popular series of the bunch, easily becoming one of my favorite characters. While the original Spider-Man protected people from criminals and supervillains, Spider-Man 2099 comes from a world run by oppressive corporations, and he publicly takes a stand against the ruling powers. So his fight is a much more widespread and difficult war, easily landing him in my top 10. Not to mention his awesome costume, and powers that set him apart from the original Spider-Man, such as night vision, talons, and poison fangs.
Whoa, awesome! Is that a metallic fiber?
Number 9. Psylocke. First appearing in Captain Britain number 8 in 1976, the mutant known as Psylocke has always been my favorite female X-Men character, and she's gone from being a British supermodel to a sword-carrying, half-naked badass in the mystical ninja organization known as the Hand. She's one of the strongest telepaths on Earth, and is one of the few that are powerful enough to keep the Shadow King, one of the most powerful X-Men villains, at bay. She can also transfer her psychic energy into her sword, and can even create a psychic knife with her hand that can overload and fry the minds of her enemies. The storylines involving Psylocke have always been entertaining as hell to me, from being kidnapped by Mojo, to star in an interdimensional TV show, to psychically seducing Cyclops and pissing off Jean Grey. Psylocke has a well-deserved spot in the top 10. Number 8. Spawn. One of the coolest looking characters ever created that doesn't belong to Marvel or DC, and first appearing in Spawn number 1 in 1992. Created by Todd McFarlane, who was also heavily involved in the creation of Venom, ex-Marine Lieutenant Colonel Al Simmons was sent on multiple Black Ops CIA missions. Eventually he started questioning the morality of the missions he was going on, and he was killed for it in a blazing inferno. Now, since he knowingly took the life of innocent people on those missions, he was sent to hell. And Malbolgia, one of the rulers of hell, promised that he would get to see his wife again if he sold him his soul. So of course Simmons agreed, and he got to see his wife again. However, he realized that 5 years had passed. His wife was married to his best friend, and he'd been transformed into a demonic creature. Virtually unkillable by any normal means, Spawn is easily one of the most terrifying heroes in existence. Lurking in the shadows, he uses his powers as a Hellspawn to brutally beat down criminals, and he was even able to destroy the demon that created him. Number 7. Aquaman. I've always loved the underdogs in comic books, the characters that prove themselves time and time again, but people still don't take them seriously. And Aquaman is the underdog of the DC Universe, first appearing in More Fun Comics number 73 in 1941. The Atlantean-born Arthur Curry, who was raised by a human, Aquaman is made fun of more than any other character I know in comic books. Maybe it's because of his representation in the Super Friends cartoon by constantly talking to fish. But the King of Atlantis has much more to offer than that. He can travel at supersonic speeds underwater, and being able to withstand the deepest depths of the ocean has given him the superhuman strength and nearly impenetrable skin outside of water. And his ability to mentally influence sea life allows him to summon the most horrifically monstrous creatures from the deep sea to do his bidding.
Once we've sunk the surface world, I'll slit its throat and claim the treasures of Atlantis.
Outrageous.
About 71% of the Earth is covered in water, and about 96% of all that water is in the oceans. Aquaman rules over the seas, technically making him ruler of most of the Earth. And he was a founding member of the Justice League, so next time you want to make a fish joke, remember how powerful this man is. Number 6, Hawkeye. I can hear the jokes already. The Avenger that nobody calls for when they need help. First appearing in Tales of Suspense number 57 in 1964, Hawkeye started out as a villain trying to steal technology from Tony Stark with Black Widow, and later he joined the Avengers, becoming one of the most devoted team members and the best marksman in the Marvel Universe. I have such respect for Hawkeye because he has no real superhuman abilities. He's a regular guy that stands next to gods and super soldiers with nothing but his aiming skills and his attitude. Although he's been an Avenger for years, he's also carved his own path. Hawkeye left the team for a time to lead a group of reformed criminals called the Thunderbolts, and has gone on plenty of his own adventures, including a standalone series that takes a look into his daily life when he's not in costume. Make no mistake, Hawkeye is one of the biggest badasses in comic book history. He's temporarily taken the identity of the giant superhero Goliath. He's one of the only heroes left alive in the world of Old Man Logan, and in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, he's even taken out a room full of enemies while strapped down using nothing but his detached fingernails. And he's even taken down the Hulk with a single arrow equipped with a serum while suffering a gunshot wound to his shoulder. How could he not be in my top 10? Number 5, Wolverine. First appearing in The Incredible Hulk number 180 in 1974. He is one of the greatest characters ever created, and he's also the most tragic. Wolverine's a mutant that ages extremely slowly, so he's cursed to watch the people he cares about aging normally while he stays fairly young. He was also forced into the Weapon X program, which erased his memories and implanted false ones, as well as an adamantium skeleton. He's haunted by horrible memories, some of them never even really happened. And it's been amazing slowly discovering his origins throughout the years, which by now has been fully revealed in great detail to us readers. He's been an X-Man, he's been an Avenger, and he's been on his own. And he's been through plenty of changes since he debuted. Originally, his claws were part of his gloves, then Weapon X put them in. Then it was revealed that he's always had bone claws underneath the adamantium. And he can also heal fast. He started out just healing a bit quicker than everybody else, to being able to survive a nuclear blast and slowly regenerating completely from it. It's hard not to respect a character like Wolverine. He's no nonsense and he always does what's necessary, even if it's ugly or nobody else is willing to do it.
We need your big green friend out here right freaking now! No! Maybe that'll help speed things up.
Hulk smash! Claw people!
He's the best at what he does, and what he does isn't very nice.
Dude, that is just not cool.
Number 4, The Flash. Many characters have used the name of The Flash, but Barry Allen is the Flash that's had the biggest impact in comic books and my favorite one. First appearing in Showcase number 4 in 1956, Barry Allen was a police forensic scientist that was known for being slow and was usually late for work, until a lightning bolt and a shell full of chemicals turned him into the fastest man alive. Not only is Flash so extremely fast that he can embarrass Superman in a fight, his super speed powers allow him to think through any scenario rapidly. He can make tornadoes by spinning his arms around and can phase through objects by moving his molecules around. Barry Allen is one of the characters in the DC universe that other heroes look up to. In fact, Batman even said once that Barry is the kind of man he would have wanted to become had his parents not been murdered. And his strong sense of optimism once even earned him a Blue Lantern ring imbued with the power of hope. Alongside Aquaman, he was also one of the founding members of the Justice League, and his powers are so great that he can affect the entire universe. He's so fast that he can travel through time, and eventually he did decide to use this power to save his mother, who died when he was just a child, accidentally changing the events of the future and creating an entirely new universe. Number 3, Ghost Rider. When most people think of Ghost Rider, they think of Johnny Blaze. When I was growing up in the 1990s and was in the pinnacle of my comic book love, the current Ghost Rider was Johnny Blaze's long-lost younger brother Dan Ketch. So Dan Ketch Ghost Rider falls in my number 3 spot. First appearing in Ghost Rider number 1 in 1990, Dan Ketch and his sister Barbara were attacked by gangsters, and he fled into a junkyard where he found a motorcycle with a mysterious symbol on it. Once he touched it, he became possessed with an angry spirit, hungry for vengeance, and he became the new Ghost Rider. The Dan Ketch Ghost Rider was much more terrifying than the previous Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. This version was obsessed with making criminals pay for their crimes and could detect when innocent blood was spilled. This was also the first version of Ghost Rider that can use the ability known as the penance stare, in which Ghost Rider would stare into the eyes of a criminal and force them to feel an intensified version of the pain they caused their victims, driving them completely insane. The fear he causes is almost unmatched in the world of comics. Number 2, The Punisher, making his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 129 in 1974. Ex-Marine Frank Castle was left for dead as he watched his entire family be gunned down for witnessing a mob execution. Taking the identity of the Punisher, he began a lifelong mission to wipe out crime permanently, arming himself with military-grade weaponry. The Punisher has no mercy when it comes to criminals. He spent years hunting down the worst of the worst, the people that are above the law, the people the superheroes cannot keep behind bars. He's such a unique character due to his brutal tactics and his absolute determination, never once questioning his mission. Although he completely avoids hurting innocent people, he's come to blows with several characters and he always faces them with no fear. He's gone toe-to-toe with the Batman of Gotham City while hunting down the Joker, knowing he was outclassed. He's knocked out Daredevil and strapped him to the top of a building. He's pinned down the unstoppable Wolverine under a steamroller after blowing off his face. He's held off an entire team of Avengers. And in an alternate universe where superheroes were responsible for his family's death, he meticulously tracked down and killed every superpowered hero in the Marvel Universe. And during the events of Civil War, when all the superheroes were too busy fighting each other, he made it his priority to take out the supervillains that were running free. The Punisher might not have powers, but he's the one force in the Marvel Universe that criminals fear crossing paths with. And my number 1 favorite comic book hero of all time, Green Lantern. More specifically, Hal Jordan. First appearing in Showcase number 22 in 1959, a dying alien crashes on the planet Earth and commands his Green Lantern ring to find a worthy successor. It summons expert test pilot Hal Jordan, and he becomes the Green Lantern of Sector 2814. He is such an amazing character to me. The Green Lanterns are basically superpowered space police, equipped with rings that can generate solid objects made of light. Each lantern protects one of 3,000 sectors in space that they're assigned to. So he not only has to protect the Earth, but he's also responsible for an entire portion of the universe, with countless planets and life forms. The Green Lantern rings are powered by pure willpower, and choose beings who have the ability to overcome great fear. Think about that for a second. This ring came to Earth, a planet full of superheroes, and it chose a regular human being, bypassing Superman, bypassing Batman, bypassing Wonder Woman. Hal Jordan has such a strong willpower that he's been described as the most powerful of the Green Lanterns, even destroying the entire Green Lantern Corps single-handedly while being possessed. His powers are some of the most unique across all of comic books, and with his entertaining sense of humor and cocky attitude, I can't think of a better hero to fall in my number 1 spot.
Flash, my boy, great to see you. Oh yeah, and that's Batman.
Batman's real?
Yeah, he's over there.
Now, some honorable mentions. These are the characters that I just couldn't find a spot for in my top 10, but would have absolutely made the list had it been a top 15. Spider-Man. I wrestled with the decision not to include Spider-Man. I love this character and always have. He's one of the most iconic heroes in the history of comic books. With his unique powers and extreme sense of responsibility, he's the perfect superhero for people to look up to. The one thing that kept him from being in the top 10 was the fact that I think Spider-Man 2099 is so cool, and I simply don't want to have two Spider-Men in my list. Batman. A regular guy armed with just about every form of martial arts imaginable and a genius intellect, it's hard to find a threat that can stop the Batman. Batman universe is one of the most appealing, but I just couldn't put him above some of these other characters. I stress that this list would be different than the other ones out there on the internet, and just about everybody has Batman in their top 10. Although I love the character, I think what's most interesting about his world are actually his villains, and not so much him. And the comic book community is just too oversaturated with Batman in my opinion. Sorry, Bats. It was time for some of the other guys to shine. Superman was the most difficult not to put on the top 10. How can the first superhero ever not make the cut? His powers have been copied time and time again by different characters throughout the years, and he's undisputably one of the most powerful characters in the entire DC universe. I didn't want to put him in the top 10 just because he's the first superhero. There's gotta be something more. Superman is so insanely powerful that he's almost invincible, depending on which version of the character you're reading, and I think this does make him a bit less interesting. He doesn't need to go through the same struggles that other characters do to overcome their enemies. While he didn't make the top 10, I can't deny his status as the most iconic superhero of all time. And Captain America, the all-American super soldier, this is the character that every other character respects. In fact, the Punisher has such respect for Captain America that he once refused to hit him back while receiving a beatdown from him. I'm a huge Captain America fan, so in a top 15 list, he would have been just outside the top 10. But his black and white attitude of what's right and wrong kept him off the top 10. While this does make for an excellent hero, I really enjoy the morally gray characters, the ones that operate somewhere in the middle. I hope you all enjoyed my top 10 comic book heroes. Leave me a comment down below with some of your favorites. And also, let me know if you want to see my top 10 villains of all time. I'm also completely open to any other top 10 ideas you may have for me. Remember to like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and check out my social media links. This is Fabian, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.